Hi there, it's Mark Wickersham. Have you ever run an event, spoke in public? Or have you ever thought about speaking in public? Which is a great way to be seen as the expert, and it's a great way to win new business. Well, let me share with you the event lead winning system, which is something that has brought me hundreds of thousands of pounds of business in the last 12 months. And yet, I don't see any other speakers doing this. So let me share my secret with you. And the first thing you need to decide is you have to be clear on what's your primary goal. And I'm looking here specifically in this session on if you're speaking at somebody else's event. If you've been invited by the local Chamber of Commerce to speak, or the local bank to speak, what is your primary goal? Well, of course, you certainly want to add value. You want to deliver great content. You want to be seen as being the expert. But the primary goal whenever you speak at somebody else's event is you want to capture the contact details of everybody in the room. And I'll share with you in a second how you do that. But first, let me just talk about briefly the three-tier event pyramid. And what I mean by that is that think of events as when you get invited to speak, of having a keynote where you address the entire audience. You might then have an optional breakout. You might be invited, if it's a large conference, to then speak afterwards in a breakout workshop. And then thirdly, there's your own events. Now, if you're doing a keynote, if you're speaking to the entire audience, and that's all you're doing, then your primary goal is to use it to capture contact details. If, though, you can arrange and negotiate the opportunity later in the day to run a breakout workshop, grab that opportunity and you use the keynote to give people a compelling reason to come to the workshop. In the workshop, you then add even more value by teaching specific stuff. And then you make sure that you capture everybody's contact details. And what you want to do is drive traffic to your own event, which could be, you might run a follow-up event, and that may well be a webinar. And the reason for that is because when you're speaking at somebody else's event, if you've been invited by the local bank, the Chamber of Commerce, a trade organisation to speak at an event on a stage, I don't think you should be using that as a sales platform. Being on the stage, you should be adding value, delivering a message, inspiring, motivating. You do the selling in your own environment. So use the speaking opportunity to capture contact details and then you drive them to a webinar. So the way I do it, I always create a professionally printed handout that I give to every single delegate, and I give them something for free in return for their contact details. And I usually have at least two things, and usually, actually in fact three, but two of the key things is, number one, I give them a copy of my eBook. They put in their name, email address, and they get the eBook. The second thing I always put on there is they can tick a box and they can learn even more about the stuff I've taught them in a follow-up webinar. And what I do is I drive people to the webinar and I use that to do the selling. Because that's my environment, that's my webinar, I'm in control of the process. So that is the event lead winning system. You use other people's events to capture contact details first and foremost, and then you drive people to a webinar or your own event, or it may be a face-to-face meeting. If you found that valuable, please click on the like button below. And if you want to find out more about how you can be seen as being the sought-after expert and have a queue of people wanting to work with you, I put a link below somewhere where you can find out more about my video training program, where I'll teach you step by step how to win great clients by being seen as the expert. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next session.